The sleek, dark vessel of Captain Mara Liss swam through the cold expanse of space. The quiet hum of the engines was a soothing constant until a sudden frantic beeping shattered the tranquility. A distress signal, ancient and weak, pulsed through the ship's systems. Mara adjusted the controls, tracing the signal's origin. What she found sent shivers down her spine. An enormous fleet of abandoned ships, drifting lifelessly among the stars. "Captain, I'm picking up a signal," said Ensign Troy, his voice tight with excitement and unease. Mara leaned over his console, her eyes scanning the data. "That's no ordinary signal. How old is it?" "Judging by the decay in the transmission, it's been out here for at least a few centuries," Troy replied, tapping on the screen. Mara's curiosity piqued. "Prepare to drop out of hyperspace. Let's get a closer look." The ship, the Starlance, decelerated smoothly, emerging into real space near the coordinates of the signal. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and eerie. Dozens of massive ships floated in a loose formation, their designs unlike anything Mara had seen before. Intricate alien patterns adorned their hulls, and despite their age, the ships looked remarkably intact. "Scan for life signs," Mara ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Negative, Captain. No life signs detected," reported Lieutenant Ramirez, the ship's science officer. Mara's brow furrowed. "How is that possible? These ships are pristine. It's as if they were just abandoned." "Could be a trap," suggested Commander Bennett, her first officer. "We should proceed with caution." "Agreed, but we can't ignore this. Form a boarding party. We need to know what happened here." Within minutes, a team of the Starlance's best, led by Lieutenant Cade, suited up and boarded a shuttle. As they approached the largest ship, the sheer scale of the vessel became apparent. It dwarfed their own ship, its design both beautiful and intimidating. "Stay sharp, everyone," Cade instructed as they docked. "We don't know what we're walking into." The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. The boarding party's footsteps echoed eerily as they ventured inside, their lights cutting through the darkness. The walls were covered in alien script and symbols, hinting at a long-lost civilization. "What is this place?" whispered Ensign Cooper, her voice barely audible over the comms. "Keep moving," Cade replied, though he shared her wonder. "We need to find the source of the signal." They navigated the labyrinthine passageways, the atmosphere growing more oppressive with each step. Eventually, they reached a large chamber at the heart of the ship. In the center stood a monolithic console, pulsating faintly with energy. "This looks like the ship's main control room," said Cade, approaching the console. "Let's see if we can access their systems." As he activated the console, a holographic interface flickered to life, displaying alien characters and diagrams. Ramirez, monitoring from the Starlance, worked quickly to translate. "This data, it's incredible," she said, her voice tinged with awe. "These ships belong to the Koltar, a civilization that disappeared centuries ago." "Koltar?" Mara echoed over the comms. "What happened to them?" "We're about to find out," Ramirez replied as she delved deeper into the files. "It seems they were engaged in a massive conflict, and then they just vanished." "Keep digging," Mara instructed. "We need to know everything." As Ramirez continued her work, Cade and his team explored the chamber. They discovered a series of stasis pods along the walls, all empty. Whatever had happened here, it was clear that the Koltar had left in a hurry, or had been forcibly removed. "Captain, we've got something," Cade said, his voice tense. "There's a lot more to this than we thought." Mara's heart pounded as she listened. The abandoned fleet was a treasure trove of knowledge and power, but it also held dark secrets that could change the fate of humanity. As Mara's ship approached the fleet, her crew marveled at the scale of the derelict armada. These were no ordinary ships. They were colossal, adorned with intricate alien designs. Who had built them, and why were they abandoned? Mara ordered a boarding party to investigate, and with trepidation, they entered the silent giants. The corridors were eerily intact, as if time had forgotten them. Cade's team moved cautiously through the corridors of the Koltar vessel, their senses on high alert. The air was stale, but breathable, and the silence was oppressive. Every step they took, echoed unnervingly through the vast empty halls. "What do you make of this place, Cade?" asked Ensign Cooper, her voice barely a whisper. "It's like walking through a tomb," Cade replied, his eyes scanning their surroundings. "But there's something more here. Stay close and keep your eyes peeled." They reached what appeared to be a command center. The room was dominated by a massive circular table, with holographic displays flickering faintly. Cade approached the table, activating the central console. Alien symbols and diagrams illuminated the room, casting an eerie glow. "Ramirez, do you see this?" Cade asked over the comms. "Yes, and it's extraordinary," she replied from the Starlens. "This ship is a repository of their history and technology. We need to get this data back to the ship." As Cade and his team began downloading the information, they discovered something even more startling. The Koltar had been in the midst of developing advanced weaponry and technology far beyond human comprehension. There were detailed plans for energy weapons, cloaking devices, and even teleportation technology. "Captain, you need to see this," Cade said, transmitting the data to the Starlance. Mara studied the information, her mind racing with the implications. "This could change everything," she muttered. "But we need to be careful. We don't know why they abandoned these ships." Suddenly, the lights in the command center flickered, and a low hum resonated through the ship. Cade's team tensed, weapons at the ready. "What's happening?" Cooper asked, her voice tinged with fear. "Unknown," Cade replied, trying to remain calm. "Stay alert." The hum grew louder and the ship seemed to come alive. Screens and consoles lit up, displaying more alien text and images. Ramirez's voice crackled over the comms. "Cade, I think you triggered a dormant system. The ship is powering up. Captain, we need to get out of here," Cade said urgently. "The ship's defenses might activate." "Understood," Mara replied. "Get back to the shuttle now." As Cade's team retraced their steps, the corridors began to shift and change. Panels slid open, revealing hidden compartments and more advanced technology. The ship's automated defenses, dormant for centuries, started to awaken. "Move! Move!" Cade shouted, leading his team through the maze-like interior. They encountered drones and automated turrets, which sprang to life and targeted them. The team fought their way back to the shuttle, using their training and quick thinking to evade and neutralize the threats. They barely made it aboard, and as the shuttle sped back to the Starlance, the Koltar ship loomed ominously behind them, its systems fully awakened. Back on the Starlance, Mara and her crew reviewed the data they had recovered. The Koltar technology was both a boon and a curse. It had the potential to propel humanity into a new era, but it also carried the risk of attracting dangerous attention. "Captain, we need to decide our next move," Bennett said, his tone grave. "This technology could be our salvation or our doom." Mara nodded, her mind made up. "We'll take this to the Terran Council. They need to see what we've found, but we must be prepared for the consequences. We've stirred something ancient and powerful, and there's no telling what's coming next." As the Starlance set course for Earth, Mara couldn't shake the feeling that they had only scratched the surface of the Koltar's secrets. The abandoned fleet was a Pandora's box, and opening it had set in motion events that would shape the future of humanity and the galaxy. The boarding party, led by Lieutenant Cade, explored the innards of the largest ship. They discovered bizarre, sophisticated technology that defied human understanding. But the most startling find was in the ship's central chamber, a vast archive of data. As they deciphered the alien language, a horrifying history unfolded. The fleet belonged to the Koltar, a powerful civilization that had mysteriously vanished. Back on the Starlance, the data was being meticulously analyzed by the ship's AI, Athena, and the science team. Captain Mara Liss stood at the central console, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays that flickered with alien symbols and schematics. "How's the translation coming along?" Mara asked, turning to Lieutenant Ramirez. "Slowly but surely," Ramirez replied. "The Koltar language is complex, but Athena is making progress. What we've uncovered so far is unsettling." "Unsettling how?" Mara inquired, her curiosity piqued. The Koltar were at the pinnacle of their civilization when they encountered a race known as the Halak. The data suggests the Halak were incredibly advanced and hostile. The Koltar attempted to defend themselves, but their efforts were futile, Ramirez explained, her voice tinged with unease. And then what? Mara pressed. Then, they vanished, Ramirez said, shaking her head. No trace, no survivors, just gone. Mara's mind raced with possibilities. The implications of such an advanced civilization disappearing without a trace were staggering. We need to understand what happened. Keep digging, Lieutenant. This information could be crucial. As the science team continued their work, Mara summoned her senior officers to a briefing. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've discovered is both extraordinary and terrifying, Mara began. The Koltar were a powerful civilization brought to their knees by the Halak. We need to learn from their mistakes and prepare for whatever may come. Commander Bennett leaned forward, his expression grim. Captain, if the Halak are still out there and they detect our presence, we could be in serious trouble. Agreed, Mara replied, but we can't ignore the potential benefits of this technology. If we can unlock its secrets, it could give us a fighting chance. Lieutenant Cade, fresh from the boarding mission, spoke up. Captain, we've only scratched the surface of that ship. There's likely more to discover, but it's a risk. The ship's defenses are formidable. We'll proceed with caution, Mara decided. Cade, prepare another boarding team. Ramirez, continue your analysis. I want to know everything about the Koltar and the Halak. Among the data, Mara found detailed plans for advanced weaponry and technology, far surpassing anything humanity had ever seen. But there was more. Documents detailing the Koltar's encounters with other alien races and their ultimate downfall at the hands of an unknown enemy. This information was a double-edged sword. It could propel humanity into a new era or lead them to ruin. As the Starlance approached Earth, the mood aboard the ship was tense. The crew understood the gravity of their discovery and the potential dangers that lay ahead. Mara spent countless hours reviewing the Koltar data, her mind absorbing the staggering implications of the technology and history they had uncovered. In the briefing room, the senior officers gathered once more to discuss their findings. Captain, we've made a breakthrough, Ramirez announced, her excitement barely contained. We've successfully deciphered the schematics for Koltar energy weapons and defensive systems. This technology could revolutionize our military capabilities. That's incredible, Mara said, her eyes wide with amazement. But we must tread carefully. If we implement this technology without fully understanding it, we could be opening ourselves up to unforeseen consequences. Lieutenant Cade, who had become something of an expert on the Koltar, nodded in agreement. The data also includes detailed records of their encounters with other alien races. Some of these species are still out there, and they might not be friendly. Exactly, Mara said. We need to approach this with caution. Our priority is to prepare for the possibility of encountering the Halak, but we must also be ready to deal with any other threats. As the Starlance docked at the Terran Council's orbital station, Mara prepared to present their findings to the highest authorities on Earth. The council chamber was a grand, imposing room, filled with representatives from every corner of human space. Mara stood before the council, her heart pounding with anticipation. Honorable members of the Terran Council, what we have discovered in the depths of space is nothing short of astounding. The Koltar were a civilization of immense power and knowledge, but they were destroyed by a force known as the Halak. We have recovered their technology, which could either be our salvation or our downfall. The council members murmured among themselves, their faces a mix of awe and concern. Captain Liss, said Councillor Jareth, a stern-faced man with a commanding presence, what do you propose we do with this technology? We must study it thoroughly and integrate it cautiously into our defenses, Mara replied. We need to be prepared for the possibility of encountering the Halak or other hostile forces. But we must also be mindful of the risks. This technology is incredibly advanced, and if we misuse it, it could spell disaster. Councillor Jareth nodded thoughtfully. Very well. We will convene a committee to oversee the integration of Koltar technology into our military and scientific endeavors. Your discovery is of paramount importance, Captain Liss, and we will act accordingly. As Mara left the council chamber, she felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but it was also filled with unprecedented opportunity. Humanity stood at a crossroads, and the choices they made now would shape their future for generations to come. Back on the Starlance, Mara addressed her crew. "We've taken the first step, but our journey is far from over. We will continue to explore the Koltar fleet, uncover its secrets, and prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. Together, we will face whatever the universe throws at us." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by Mara's words. They had become part of something much larger than themselves, a mission that would determine the fate of humanity and its place among the stars. As the Starlance set course for the Koltar fleet once more, Mara couldn't help but wonder what other mysteries awaited them. The abandoned fleet had become a catalyst for change, and the revolution it had sparked was only just beginning. As the crew worked to transfer the data to their ship, they inadvertently triggered a dormant system. The ships began to stir, automated defenses activating. Mara and her team raced against time, fighting off drones and automated turrets to escape with their prize. But their actions had not gone unnoticed. A signal had been sent, alerting others to their presence. "Captain, we have a problem," Cade's voice crackled over the comms. "We've tripped some kind of security protocol. The ship is coming alive." Mara's heart sank. "Get out of there now, we'll cover you." The Starlance's sensors lit up with activity. The once silent fleet now buzzed with energy. Automated turrets emerged from hidden compartments, and swarms of drones began to converge on Cade's team. "We're moving as fast as we can, Captain," Cade replied, his voice strained. "But these drones are relentless." "Ramirez, I need options," Mara demanded, her mind racing for a solution. "Deploying countermeasures," Ramirez responded, her fingers flying over her console. "I'll try to create a distraction." The Starlance launched a series of decoy drones designed to mimic the signatures of Cade's team. For a moment, the hostile drones hesitated, splitting their attention between the real intruders and the decoys. "Cade, the window is narrow. Move," Mara ordered, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. Cade's team sprinted through the corridors, dodging laser fire and automated defenses. They reached the docking bay, just as the shuttle's engines roared to life. "Everyone on board," Cade shouted, covering the rear as his team clambered into the shuttle. The shuttle rocketed back to the Starlance, with enemy drones in hot pursuit. Mara watched anxiously as the shuttle approached. "Ramirez, can we give them some cover?" Mara asked. "Deploying defensive grid," Ramirez replied, activating the ship's automated defense systems. The Starlance's turrets blazed to life, targeting the pursuing drones. Explosions filled the view screen as the drones were picked off one by one. The shuttle docked with a jolt, and the airlock cycled open. "Get us out of here, Ensign Troy," Mara commanded, her relief palpable as Cade's team reboarded the ship. The Starlance's engines roared, and the ship leapt into hyperspace, leaving the reawakened fleet behind. Mara exhaled slowly, her pulse beginning to steady. "That was too close," she muttered. Cade, panting and battered, saluted as he entered the bridge. "Mission accomplished, Captain. We got the data." Mara nodded. "Good work, Cade. Now let's find out what we've awakened." Back in the lab, Ramirez and her team worked feverishly to analyze the new data. Athena, the ship's AI, processed the incoming information at incredible speed. "Captain, there's something you need to see," Ramirez said, her face illuminated by the data streams. "The signal we triggered. It wasn't just an internal alarm. It was a distress call, sent out into deep space." Mara's eyes widened. "Who received it?" "We don't know yet," Ramirez replied. "But whoever it is, they're on their way." Returning to their home base, Mara presented the findings to the Terran Council. The reaction was mixed. Some saw an opportunity, others a threat. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the signal from the abandoned fleet reached the ears of the Hak, an ancient enemy of the Koltar. Sensing an opportunity to eliminate a potential threat, they mobilized their forces. As the Starlance approached the Terran Council's orbital station, the atmosphere aboard was tense. The crew knew that their discovery had far-reaching implications, and their reception would be crucial. "Captain Liss, welcome back," Counselor Jareth greeted as Mara entered the council chamber. "We understand you have important findings to share." "Indeed, Counselor," Mara replied, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "What we've discovered in the Koltar fleet is beyond anything we've ever encountered. Advanced technology, historical records, and a potential threat unlike any other." Mara detailed the Koltar's advanced weaponry and the records of their encounters with the Halak. The council members listened intently, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension. "This technology could revolutionize our defenses," Councillor Valen said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We must begin integrating it immediately." "But at what cost?" Councillor Alara countered, her expression wary. "We've already triggered a signal that could bring unknown dangers to our doorstep." "We cannot afford to be unprepared," Jareth said firmly. "If the Halak are truly as formidable as the records suggest, we need every advantage we can get." Mara nodded. "We must proceed with caution, but we cannot ignore the potential benefits. We've already seen what this technology can do. With proper integration, it could turn the tide in our favor." As the council debated far across the galaxy, the Halak received the Koltar distress signal. Their leader, a cold and calculating strategist named Zalkor, analyzed the data with interest. "It appears the Koltar have left behind a treasure trove," Zalkor mused, his eyes narrowing. "And now these humans have stumbled upon it." "Shall we eliminate them?" asked one of his advisors. "Yes," Zalkor replied, a predatory smile spreading across his face. "Mobilize our fleet. We will not allow another species to harness the power of the Koltar." Back on Earth, the Terran Council reached a decision. "Captain Liss, you and your crew will continue to explore the Koltar fleet," Jareth announced. "We will begin integrating the technology under strict oversight, and we will prepare for any potential threats." Mara saluted. "Understood, Counselor. We'll do everything in our power to ensure humanity's safety." As the Starlants departed the orbital station, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had a mission that could shape the future of humanity, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the quiet of her quarters, Mara reflected on the journey so far. The discovery of the Koltar fleet had been just the beginning. Now they stood on the brink of a new era, with the fate of humanity resting in their hands. But as the stars streaked by, Mara couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The Halak were out there, and they were coming. The first encounter had yet to begin, and the real battle was still to come. The Terran Council, divided and uncertain, debated their next move. Meanwhile, Mara and her crew were hailed as heroes, but the burden of their discovery weighed heavily on them. Amidst the political turmoil, an emissary from the Drelk, an alien race with a fraught history with humanity, arrived with a warning. The Halak were coming, and they would stop at nothing to destroy anyone possessing Koltar technology. The Starlants docked at Terran Command, and Mara was greeted with a hero's welcome. Celebrations erupted among the crew, but Mara remained pensive. The knowledge they had uncovered carried immense responsibility and danger. "Captain, we've got visitors," Commander Bennett said, stepping into Mara's quarters. "Who?" Mara asked, looking up from her console. "The Drelk. They've sent an emissary. Says it's urgent." Mara frowned. The Drelk had been both allies and adversaries in the past, their relationship with humanity complicated and tense. "All right, bring them to the briefing room." In the briefing room, Mara faced the Drelk emissary, a tall, elegant being named Zorak. His skin shimmered with iridescent colors, and his eyes were deep pools of intelligence and caution. "Captain Liss," Zorak began, his voice smooth and resonant, "we received a signal from the Koltar fleet. We know what you have found." Mara's heart skipped a beat. "We didn't intend for the signal to be sent. It was an accident. Nevertheless, it has drawn the attention of the Halak," Zorak continued. "They are ruthless and relentless. They will come for you, and they will come for us all." "What do you suggest?" Mara asked, her tone guarded. "An alliance," Zorak replied. "The Drelk have faced the Halak before. We know their tactics and their weaknesses. Together, we stand a better chance of survival." Mara considered this. Trusting the Drelk was risky, but facing the Halak alone was a far greater risk. "We will consider your offer, but know that any alliance must be based on mutual trust and respect." "Of course," Zorak agreed. We have much to gain from cooperation. The Halak are a threat to us all." As Zorak departed, Mara gathered her senior officers to discuss the proposal. The room buzzed with varying opinions. "Captain, we can't trust the Drelk," Cade said, his voice firm. "They've betrayed us before." "But they have valuable knowledge about the Halak," Ramirez countered. "If we go into this fight blind, we're doomed." Mara listened to both sides, weighing the risks and benefits. "We don't have the luxury of choosing our allies based on past grievances. The Halak are a threat to all life in this sector. We will ally with the Drelk, but we will proceed with caution." The warning proved true. Halak scout ships began appearing at the edges of human space, probing defenses and gauging their strength. In response, humanity rushed to adapt the Koltar technology, but progress was slow. Tensions rose as Mara and her crew trained new recruits, preparing for the inevitable conflict. Allies were sought among other alien races, but trust was hard won. The Starlance patrolled the borders of Terran space, alert for any sign of the Halak. Reports of skirmishes and encounters with Halak scouts filtered in from various outposts. The enemy was testing their defenses, and it was only a matter of time before a full-scale invasion began. "Captain, we've got movement on the scanners," Ensign Troy reported. "Halak scouts, 3 o'clock. "Battle stations," Mara ordered. "Let's show them we're not easy prey." The Starlance moved into position, its new Koltar-enhanced weapons primed and ready. The Halak scouts approached, their sleek dark ships exuding menace. The first volley of energy blasts from the Starlance cut through the vacuum of space, striking one of the scouts and sending it spiraling into destruction. "Good hit," Cade said, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "But they'll be back with reinforcements." "We need to send a message," Mara replied, her voice resolute. "Launch fighters. Let's take the fight to them." Fighters streamed out of the Starlance, engaging the remaining Halak scouts in a furious dogfight. The battle was intense. The superior maneuverability of the Halak ships matched against the advanced firepower of the Terran fighters. Slowly but surely, the Terran forces gained the upper hand. As the last Halak scout exploded in a blaze of fire, Mara knew this was just the beginning. "Good work, everyone, but stay vigilant. This was just a test. The real battle is yet to come." Back at Terran Command, the urgency of the situation was clear. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer and integrate the Koltar technology into Terran ships. Progress was made, but it was slow and fraught with challenges. "Captain, the integration process is hitting some snags," Ramirez reported. "The Koltar technology is incredibly advanced, and we're struggling to adapt it to our systems." "Do what you can, Ramirez," Mara said. "We need every advantage we can get." Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts were underway to secure more allies. The Drelk were the first to join, but convincing other alien races to stand together proved difficult. The scars of past conflicts ran deep, and trust was a rare commodity. Mara met with representatives from various species, each negotiation delicate and complex. "We face a common enemy," she implored. "The Halak will not stop with us. They will come for you too. We must stand together or we will fall separately." Some heeded her words, others remained skeptical. The galaxy was vast and its inhabitants diverse, but the shadow of the Halak loomed large, a unifying threat that transcended old grudges and rivalries. As alliances slowly formed, Mara and her crew trained new recruits, drilling them in the use of the advanced technology and preparing them for the brutal reality of interstellar war. The rising storm could not be ignored, and every hand was needed to weather it. In the quiet moments, Mara found herself reflecting on the path that had led them here. The discovery of the Koltar fleet had sparked a revolution, but it had also awakened a deadly enemy. Now the fate of humanity and its allies hung in the balance, and she was determined to see them through the coming storm. The stage was set for a conflict that would determine the future of the galaxy. Allies and enemies alike prepared for the clash, each day bringing them closer to the inevitable showdown with the Halak. The rising storm was upon them, and there was no turning back. The Halak struck without warning, targeting a key Terran outpost. Mara, now commanding a fleet equipped with rudimentary Koltar technology, led the defense. The battle was fierce and brutal, with heavy losses on both sides. The new technology proved effective, but it was clear that humanity was still outmatched. The Halak withdrew, but the message was clear. More was to come. The calm of deep space shattered as alarms blared across the starlands. Mara leaped into action, her voice cutting through the chaos. "All hands to battle stations. Prepare for immediate engagement." Ensign Troy's voice was tense. "Captain, we're receiving distress signals from Outpost Theta. They're under attack by the Halak. Plot a course, maximum speed," Mara ordered, her jaws set in determination. The Starlance and its escort ships surged toward Outpost Theta. As they approached, the scale of the assault became clear. Halak ships swarmed the outpost, their dark hulls glinting ominously in the starlight. The outpost's defenses were struggling to hold, explosions lighting up the void. "Open fire as soon as we're in range," Mara commanded. "Let's give them something to remember." The Terran fleet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, the Koltar-enhanced weapons cutting through the Halak ranks. The initial strike caught the Halak off guard, and several of their ships were vaporized. "Deploy fighters and engage the enemy," Cade ordered, coordinating the fleet's maneuvers. Fighters streamed out from the Terran ships, weaving through the enemy formation and targeting key points. The Halak responded with ruthless efficiency, their advanced technology making them formidable adversaries. The battle devolved into a chaotic melee, with ships from both sides exchanging blistering fire. On the bridge of the Starlance, Mara directed the battle with a steely calm. "Focus fire on their flagships. We need to break their command structure." Under her direction, the Terran ships concentrated their fire on the largest Halak vessels. The strategy began to pay off, as one of the Halak flagships exploded in a spectacular fireball, sending debris scattering through space. "Captain, our shields are failing," Ramirez shouted over the din of battle. "We can't take much more of this." "Hold the line," Mara urged, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "We need to buy time for the outpost to evacuate." The Terran fleet fought valiantly, but the Halak's superior technology began to take its toll. One by one, Terran ships were disabled or destroyed, their crews fighting to the last. "Captain, we've lost the Ironclad and the Valiant," Cade reported grimly. Mara's heart ached for the fallen, but she steeled herself. "All remaining ships, regroup and prepare for a counterattack." Just as it seemed the Terran fleet would be overwhelmed, a series of powerful energy blasts tore through the Halak formation. Reinforcements had arrived, led by the Drelk and their formidable warships. "Captain Liss, we are here to assist," Zorek's voice crackled over the comms. Mara allowed herself a brief smile. "Glad to have you with us, Zorek. Let's finish this." With the combined might of the Terran and Drelk fleets, the tide of battle began to turn. The Halak, realizing they were outmatched, began to retreat. "Do not pursue," Mara ordered. "We've done enough damage for today. Let's regroup and tend to the wounded." As the Halak ships disappeared into the darkness, the Terran and Drelk forces secured the outpost. The battle had been won, but at a tremendous cost. Mara knew this was just the beginning. The Halak would be back, and next time they would be even more determined. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity's resolve hardened. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to unlock more secrets of the Koltar technology. Mara and her crew, now seasoned veterans, pushed their limits in training and strategy. A breakthrough came when they discovered a way to harness the Koltar's power source, vastly increasing their ship's capabilities. The victory at Outpost Theta galvanized the Terran Council. Resources were poured into research and development, and the brightest minds in human space focused on deciphering the Koltar technology. The Starlance became the hub of innovation, with scientists and engineers working tirelessly to improve their defenses. "Captain, we've made a significant breakthrough," Ramirez reported, her face flushed with excitement. "We've figured out how to stabilize the Koltar power cores. This will give our ships unprecedented energy output." Mara's eyes lit up. "Excellent work, Lieutenant. How soon can we start retrofitting our fleet?" "Immediately," Ramirez replied. "We've already begun the process on the Starlance. Other ships will follow soon." As the upgrades progressed, Mara and her crew underwent rigorous training. They studied the tactics used by the Halak, learning to anticipate their moves and counter their strategies. Simulations and drills became part of their daily routine, preparing them for the inevitable next encounter. "Captain, we've received reports of increased Halak activity near our borders," Cade informed her during a strategy meeting. "They're probing our defenses, looking for weaknesses." "Let them probe," Mara said, her voice firm. "They'll find we're not so easily defeated." The turning point came when a Koltar data fragment revealed the existence of a powerful weapon known as the Celestial Lance. This weapon, capable of unleashing devastating energy blasts, had been a key factor in the Koltar's initial success against the Halak. "If we can replicate the Celestial Lance, it could give us the edge we need," Ramirez explained. "But it's incredibly complex. It will require a combined effort from all our allies." "We don't have much time," Mara said. "The Halak will be back, and they'll be stronger than ever. We need to accelerate our efforts." The call for cooperation was answered. Scientists from the Drelk and other allied species joined the project, pooling their knowledge and resources. The Starlance became a symbol of unity and determination, a beacon of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. "Captain, we're ready for the first test of the Celestial Lance prototype," Ramirez announced. The crew gathered in the observation deck, watching as the weapon was activated. A beam of pure energy shot out, obliterating a distant asteroid in a blinding flash of light. "It works," Cade said, awe in his voice. "It actually works." "This is the turning point," Mara declared. "With this weapon, we have a fighting chance." The success of the Celestial Lance prototype marked a new era in the conflict. The Terran fleet, now equipped with Koltar-enhanced technology and united with their allies, stood ready to face the Halak. The battle for survival had reached a critical juncture, and humanity was prepared to meet the challenge head-on. As the stars twinkled in the vast expanse of space, Mara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had come a long way from that first distress signal, and the journey was far from over. But with the turning point achieved, hope burned brighter than ever. The future of humanity and its allies hung in the balance, and they were ready to fight for it. As the Halak prepared for a massive assault, an unexpected alliance formed. The Drelk, along with other alien races who had suffered under the Halak's tyranny, offered their aid. Old grudges were set aside as a coalition of species united to stand against a common enemy. Mara found herself at the forefront of this new alliance, leading a diverse fleet into battle. The Starlance hung in the void, its newly integrated Koltar technology shimmering with potential. On the bridge, Captain Mara Liss stood at the center of a bustling command center. Communication channels buzzed with activity as messages from Allied ships poured in. "Captain, we've received confirmations from the Varkari and the Zenthari. They're sending their fleets to join us," reported Lieutenant Ramirez, her eyes shining with determination. "Excellent," Mara replied, her voice steady. "We need every ally we can get." The bridge door slid open, and Zorak, the Drelk emissary, stepped inside. "Captain Liss, our fleets are ready. The Halak won't know what hit them." Mara nodded. "We'll need your expertise, Zorak. The Halak are relentless, but together we stand a chance." In the days leading up to the battle, the Allied fleets gathered at a rendezvous point near the contested system of Epsilon Prime. The sight was awe-inspiring. Hundreds of ships from different races, each unique in design yet united in purpose. Mara addressed the assembled leaders in a holographic conference. "Today we stand on the brink of extinction. The Halak are a threat to us all, but together we can defeat them. We have Koltar technology on our side, but it's our unity that will truly make the difference." A Varkari general, his face scarred from previous battles with the Halak, spoke up. "We fight for our future, for our children, for our survival. Together we will prevail." The leaders exchanged solemn nods, a silent agreement forged in the crucible of shared hardship and hope. As the Allied fleet prepared for battle, the Halak armada appeared on the edge of their sensors. Thousands of ships, dark and menacing, filled the view screen. "They're here," Ensign Troy announced, his voice filled with tension. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Mara commanded, her eyes locked on the incoming enemy. This is it, for humanity, for our allies, for the future. The Allied fleet surged forward, a wave of defiance against the encroaching darkness. Energy beams and projectiles lit up the void as the two forces clashed. The battle was chaotic, a maelstrom of destruction and heroism. "Focus fire on their command ships," Cade ordered, coordinating the fleet's efforts. "We need to disrupt their chain of command." The Celestial Lance, the prototype weapon that had given them hope, was brought to bear. Its energy beam cut through the Halak ships like a knife through butter, causing explosions that rocked the enemy formation. "Direct hit," Ramirez cheered. "The Celestial Lance is working." But the Halak were relentless, their ships pouring into the fray. The Allied fleet fought valiantly, but the sheer numbers of the Halak began to take their toll. "Captain, we're losing ships fast," Cade reported, his voice grim. "We need a new strategy." Mara's mind raced. "All units, fall back to defensive positions Alpha and Beta. We need to regroup and hit them where it hurts." The Allied ships reformed, creating a defensive perimeter around key assets. As the Halak pressed their attack, the Allies struck back with coordinated strikes, exploiting weaknesses and targeting vulnerable ships. In the heart of the battle, the Starlance took hit after hit, its shields flickering under the strain. Mara stood firm, her resolve unshaken. "We're not giving up. Not now." The turning point came when a Drelk warship, heavily damaged, rammed into a Halak command ship, causing a chain reaction of explosions. The Halak formation began to crumble, their ships scattering in disarray. "They're breaking," Zorak said, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "We have a chance. All units press the attack," Mara ordered. "Drive them back. Make them regret ever coming here." With renewed vigor, the Allied fleet surged forward. The Halak, sensing defeat, began to retreat. Cheers erupted across the comm channels as the enemy ships vanished into the void. "We did it," Cade said, his voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." Mara allowed herself a moment of relief. "This victory is just the beginning. We've shown that together we are stronger than any enemy." As the dust settled and the survivors tended to the wounded, the Allied leaders gathered once more. "Today we have shown that unity is our greatest weapon," Mara said. "We will continue to stand together against any threat that comes our way." The victory at Epsilon Prime became a beacon of hope, a testament to what could be achieved when old grudges were set aside in the face of a common enemy. The coalition was stronger than ever, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. The Halak fleet arrived in force, their ships blotting out the stars. The Allied fleet, bolstered by Koltar technology and newfound allies, met them head-on. The battle raged across the void, a cacophony of light and death. Mara's strategic brilliance and the combined strength of the coalition began to turn the tide. But the Halak had one final, devastating weapon up their sleeve. The Allied fleet waited in tense anticipation as the Halak armada emerged from hyperspace, their sheer numbers a testament to their determination to crush the coalition. The enemy ships formed an ominous wall of metal and energy, poised to strike. "All ships, maintain formation," Mara commanded, her voice steady despite the looming threat. "We've beaten them before and we'll do it again." The battle erupted in a blaze of energy blasts and missile trails. The Celestial Lance fired its powerful beam, carving a path through the Halak ranks. The Allied ships moved with precision, their coordination a testament to the rigorous training and newfound trust between species. "Focus on their flanks," Cade ordered, directing the Allied fighters to exploit weaknesses in the Halak formation. "We need to disrupt their advance." The Allied fleet pressed their advantage, pushing the Halak back. But the enemy had been prepared for this. In the midst of the battle, a massive Halak ship, unlike any they had seen before, emerged from hyperspace. Its size dwarfed even the largest of the Allied vessels, and its weapon systems glowed with a menacing light. "Captain, we've got a new contact," Ramirez reported, her voice filled with dread. "It's massive." Mara's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. "All ships, focus fire on that new target. We need to take it down before it can do any serious damage." The Allied fleet redirected their fire, but the Hak Behemoth absorbed the hits with minimal damage. Then it unleashed its own weapon, a devastating energy pulse that rippled through space, disabling several Allied ships in one strike. "Shields failing on multiple ships," Cade shouted. "We can't take another hit like that." "Ramirez, analyze that weapon," Mara ordered. "Find us a weakness." "I'm on it," Ramirez replied, her fingers flying over her console. "It looks like it's charging up for another pulse. We've got to disable it before it fires again." Mara made a quick decision. "Zorak, we need your ships to draw its fire. Our heavier ships will move in for a concentrated strike." "Understood, Captain," Zorak replied. "Drelk ships, you heard the captain. Engage the behemoth and draw its fire." The Drelk ships moved with agility, harassing the Hak Behemoth and buying time for the Allied capital ships to get into position. The tension was palpable as the behemoth's weapon continued to charge. "All ships, target the behemoth's power core," Mara commanded. "This is our chance. Hit it with everything we've got." The Allied fleet unleashed a torrent of firepower, focusing on a vulnerable section of the Hak Behemoth. The combined might of Koltar technology and coalition forces struck true, causing a massive explosion that rocked the enemy ship. "We've breached its core," Ramirez exclaimed. "It's destabilizing." The Hak Behemoth shuddered as internal explosions rippled through its structure. With a final cataclysmic blast, it disintegrated, taking several nearby Hak ships with it. "Direct hit," Cade cheered. "The behemoth is down." The destruction of the behemoth sent shockwaves through the Hak fleet. Their formations wavered, and the Allies seized the opportunity to press their attack. The battle turned in favor of the coalition, the Hak forces falling back in disarray. "Keep the pressure on," Mara urged. "We've got them on the run." The Allied fleet pushed forward, driving the Hak back and securing the battlefield. The once imposing enemy armada was now a scattered and broken force, retreating into the depths of space. As the last of the Hak ships vanished, a cheer erupted across the comm channels. The coalition had triumphed against overwhelming odds, their unity and determination carrying the day. "We did it," Cade said, his voice filled with relief. "We actually did it." Mara allowed herself a moment of pride. "This victory belongs to all of us. We stood together and we prevailed. But our work isn't over. We need to secure our borders and ensure the Hak don't return." The final confrontation had tested the coalition to its limits, but it had also proven their strength. As the Allied fleet regrouped and tended to their wounded, there was a renewed sense of hope and determination. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it felt within reach. Mara looked out at the stars, a sense of peace settling over her. The journey had been long and arduous, but they had come through it stronger than ever. The final battle had been won, and with it, a new era of unity and cooperation had begun. In a desperate gamble, Mara led a strike team aboard the Hak flagship, aiming to disable their superweapon. The fight was brutal, the cost high, but they succeeded. The Hak fleet, now leaderless and crippled, fell into disarray. The Allies pressed their advantage, routing the remaining Hak forces. The victory was hard-won and bittersweet, but it marked the dawn of a new era. As the Allied fleet regrouped, Mara convened her senior officers and Allied commanders in the Starlance's war room. Holographic displays showed the current state of the Hak forces, fragmented and in retreat. The victory felt close, yet Mara knew the importance of decisively ending the conflict. "Captain Liss," Zorak began, "the Hak are in disarray, but their flagship remains operational. As long as it stands, they pose a threat." Mara nodded. "We need to cut the head off the snake. We'll take a strike team aboard the Hak flagship and disable their superweapon. Without it, their fleet will crumble." Cade stepped forward, determination etched on his face. "I volunteer for the mission, Captain. We need our best on this one." Mara glanced around the room, seeing the resolve in her officer's eyes. "All right. Cade, Ramirez, and Zorak, you're with me. Prepare for a boarding operation. We'll strike at the heart of their command." The strike team suited up, the gravity of their mission heavy in the air. They boarded a stealth shuttle and made their way toward the Hak flagship, its dark, menacing form looming in the distance. The shuttle's cloaking device kept them hidden as they approached. As the shuttle docked with the Hak ship, Mara led the team through the airlock. The interior, was a labyrinth of dark corridors and alien technology. They moved swiftly, taking down Halak guards with silent precision. "Ramirez, find us a path to the weapon control room," Mara ordered. "On it, Captain," Ramirez replied, hacking into the ship's systems. "This way." The team navigated through the ship, encountering fierce resistance. The Halak fought with desperation, knowing the survival of their fleet depended on this battle. The strike team pushed forward, their determination unwavering. They reached the control room, a massive chamber filled with advanced technology. At its center, the superweapon pulsed with energy, a threat to everything they had fought for. "Set the charges," Mara commanded. "We need to disable this weapon permanently." As Ramirez and Zorak worked on the explosives, Halak reinforcements stormed the room. The battle was intense, the air filled with the sound of blaster fire and the clash of weapons. Cade fought beside Mara, their backs to each other, taking down wave after wave of Halak warriors. "Almost there, Captain," Ramirez shouted, finishing the last of the charges. "Everyone fall back," Mara ordered. They retreated, covering each other as they made their way back to the shuttle. As they cleared the control room, Ramirez triggered the explosives. The superweapon detonated in a massive explosion, shaking the entire ship. Alarms blared, and the Halak flagship began to break apart. "Get us out of here," Mara shouted as they boarded the shuttle. They sped away from the crippled ship, the explosion illuminating the void behind them. Back on the Starlance, cheers erupted as the Halak flagship disintegrated. The remaining Halak forces, now leaderless and demoralized, scattered and fled. The Allied fleet pressed their advantage, driving the Halak from the sector. The victory was theirs. The coalition had triumphed against a seemingly insurmountable foe. As the dust settled, the Allied leaders gathered once more, this time in celebration. "We did it," Zorak said, raising a glass in a toast. "To unity and victory." "To a new dawn," Mara added, her voice filled with hope. "We've shown that together we can overcome any challenge. This is just the beginning." The coalition set to work securing their borders and rebuilding what had been lost. The Koltar technology, once a mystery, became a cornerstone of their new alliance. Scientists and engineers from all races collaborated, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Mara stood on the bridge of the Starlance, looking out at the stars. The journey had been long and arduous, filled with sacrifice and hardship, but they had emerged stronger, united by a common purpose. As the stars shimmered in the vast expanse of space, Mara felt a sense of peace. The final battle had been won, and with it, a new era had begun. The coalition of species, once divided by mistrust and old grudges, now stood together, ready to face whatever the future held. "Captain," Cade said, joining her at the viewport, "what's next?" Mara smiled. "We rebuild, we grow, and we explore. The galaxy is vast, and there's so much more out there. We'll face new challenges, but we'll face them together." The Starlance set a new course, its journey far from over. As it sailed through the stars, it carried with it the hopes and dreams of countless beings, united in their quest for a better future. The dawn of a new era had arrived, and with it the promise of endless possibilities.